By the 1890s, over 400 people were packed into every acre of Lambeth. London had surpassed 6.5 million, and its poorest districts were suffocating. On the 10th of March, 1906, the Baker Street and Waterloo Railway opened as a deep-level electric tube with one radical promise: move ordinary workers cheaply enough to escape the slums. Whether the Bakerloo Line truly drove the rise of working-class London is a question that matters now more than ever. London at the turn of the 20th century was a city straining under its own weight. In Lambeth, official census tables recorded more than 400 people crammed into every acre, a density unmatched in most European capitals. The streets mapped by Charles Booth in shades of black and blue told their own story. Whole blocks classified as lowest class, vicious, semi-criminal, or very poor, chronic want. In these neighborhoods, a single tenement might shelter 6 or 8 people to a room, with families sharing beds and strangers renting corners for the night. Sanitary failures were everywhere. The 1898 Lambeth Sanitary Report listed 45 condemned houses, addresses like 71 Gypsy Road and Weber Street, where inspectors found rooms damp, drains defective, and floors rotting. Only 42% of homes had any connection to the mains water supply. The rest depended on communal standpipes, many contaminated by sewage after heavy rain. Municipal records show that in some back courts, a dozen people shared a single privy. Night soil carts rarely reached the alleys, leaving cesspits to overflow and disease to spread unchecked. Lambeth's crude death rate hovered at 22 per thousand, far above the city average, with tuberculosis and diphtheria claiming the young and the frail. A slum inspector's diary from 1904 captures the human toll. The night shift of the baker on Harrow Road awakens at 5. The children steal a crust from the basket while the mother mends a torn dress by the gas lamp. In letters to the South London press, residents pleaded for better drainage, warning that our children drown in puddles each winter. Behind the numbers and the maps, the reality was unyielding. Overcrowding, poverty, and neglect shaped daily life for thousands. The city's poorest were boxed in by housing, by disease, and by the limits of their own mobility. On the 10th of March, 1906, the Baker Street and Waterloo Railway opened its doors to the public, offering a new vision for urban movement in London. The line's design was clear in its intent: a deep-level electric tube engineered to carry large numbers of working people quickly and affordably between the city's most crowded neighbourhoods and its commercial heart. Parliamentary debates leading up to the opening left little doubt about the mission. The railway's backers promised the service that would cut through the tangle of slow, expensive trams and horse-drawn omnibuses, delivering a direct north-south link across districts where overcrowding and poverty had long been routine. The fare structure was set with precision. A single journey cost just 1.5 pence, less than half the price of a comparable tram ride. For workers earning an average of 30 pence a week, this meant daily travel no longer devoured a significant share of their income. The time savings were just as dramatic. The trip from Baker Street to Elephant and Castle, which had taken half an hour or more by surface routes, now took only 12 minutes. This new speed, powered by electric traction and deep-level tunnelling, opened up options for where people could live and work, expanding the practical boundaries of daily life for thousands. The line itself became a kind of protagonist in London's story, a technological answer to a social crisis. Its route was deliberately plotted to intersect the city's most densely packed working-class districts, with stations spaced to maximise access while keeping costs low. Early promotional materials and parliamentary records both stressed the same point. This was not a luxury for the few, but a mass mobility solution for the many. The promise was bold: mobility, affordability, and a chance to break the physical limits that had boxed in the city's poorest residents for generations. Morning commuters board at Harrow and Wealdstone, the northern end of the Bakerloo Line. The train fills quickly. Office workers, cleaners, students and care staff pressed shoulder to shoulder. By the time it reaches Oxford Circus, every available space is taken. Transport for London records show about 1.2 million entries and exits on the Bakerloo each week. At peak times, trains run at 115% of their design capacity, with passengers standing in every aisle and pressed against the doors. The carriages themselves are relics, the 1972 stock, introduced more than 50 years ago, now the oldest fleet still running on the underground. Narrow doors and cramped interiors make boarding and leaving slow, adding to delays. The line's social mix is striking. Median household incomes for those living along the route range from £34,000 in Harrow to £42,000 near the West End, but nearly a third of regular riders earn less than £25,000 a year. Riders speak more than a dozen languages. Some are heading to high-rise offices in Westminster, others to jobs cleaning hotels or delivering parcels. A long-term resident campaigner standing on the platform at Elephant and Castle puts it plainly: every morning I see families, pensioners, key workers, packed in like sardines. We're all here because this is the only line that actually gets us where we need to go, but it's bursting at the seams. The pressure on the Bakerloo is not just a matter of comfort. Chronic overcrowding and aging trains threaten the reliability of the only affordable north-south route for tens of thousands of low and middle-income Londoners. The urgency for investment, whether through upgrades or new extensions, is felt most keenly by those who depend on the line every day. Urban historians often point to the Bakerloo Line as a catalyst for working-class advancement, arguing that proximity to the railway delivered a measurable boost in household fortunes. A landmark regression analysis using district-level data attributes about 20% of the observed rise in disposable income after 1906 directly to the line's arrival, even after factoring in wage growth and council housing expansion. This so-called transport premium stands out in early 20th century records where families living within walking distance of Bakerloo stations saw income gains well above those in less connected areas. Yet economic critics urge caution. They highlight that between 1900 and 1914, real wages for manual workers rose by 15% across London, driven by industrial growth, unionisation and new service jobs. These rising pay packets, critics argue, would have improved living standards regardless of the tube's arrival. The post-war housing boom adds another layer. Following the 1919 Housing Act, local authorities built 200,000 council homes, many within easy reach of the Bakerloo, but financed and managed through public policy rather than private railway investment. Critics contend that it was this wave of affordable, sanitary housing, not the railway alone, that delivered the most profound improvements in health and comfort. The evidence does not yield a simple answer. Quantitative studies suggest that while the Bakerloo Line played a significant role, accounting for 1/5 of the income gains, the majority of improvements came from broader trends in wages and housing. The debate remains unresolved. It frames a critical question for the future. Can a new extension or upgrade alone revive the line's historic promise, or must it be matched by ambitious policy in wages and housing to truly benefit London's working class? The proposed extension of the Bakerloo Line to Lewisham carries the promise of a new era in South London's connectivity. 4 new stations, Burgess Park, Old Kent Road, New Cross Gate and Lewisham, are planned along a 7.5-kilometre route with a target opening date set for 2033. Transport for London's projections estimate that the extension will generate an additional 30 million annual passenger kilometres, a 5% boost over current totals. The route is expected to cut journey times from Lewisham to the West End by more than a third, making commutes that once took over an hour possible in just 45 minutes. Alongside improved mobility, the extension is tied to a major housing uplift. Policy documents outline the delivery of 12,000 affordable homes and 8,000 market rate units within a 1-kilometre radius of the new stations. These developments are designed to address persistent shortages and offer new options to low and middle income households. The scale of planned construction rivals the council housing booms of the early 20th century, echoing the historic link between transport infrastructure and urban renewal. If realised, the extension could transform access to jobs and services for tens of thousands, reshaping the social geography of southeast London and offering a rare opportunity to combine transport investment with large-scale housing delivery. Securing the Lewisham extension means navigating a web of financial and social risks that go far beyond engineering. The funding package draws from 3 sources: £1.5 billion from the Greater London Authority, £500 million in central government grants and £200 million in private investment. But even this mix leaves the project exposed. Infrastructure specialists warn of a 20% risk of cost overruns, driven by complex ground conditions and the challenge of tunnelling beneath historic foundations. To blunt the impact, a £250 million contingency fund sits on standby. Yet past projects in London have shown that even robust buffers can be outpaced by unforeseen delays. Social costs are just as real. The compulsory purchase orders required for new station footprints will displace an estimated 1,400 households, while Transport for London commits to replacing every lost unit at comparable affordability. Advocates worry about the disruption to established communities and the risk of speculative buyouts. Property values are forecast to rise by 15% within 5 years of opening, raising the spectre of gentrification unless strict quotas are enforced. Planners have set a 30% affordable housing target for all new developments tied to the extension, a figure that community campaigners insist must be non-negotiable. The question remains, can the promise of new mobility be delivered without sacrificing the very residents the line is meant to serve? Today, the future of the Bakerloo remains uncertain, caught between promises of renewal and persistent funding delays. As London's population nears 9 million, the line's ability to foster real economic mobility is under the microscope. The challenge is clear. Infrastructure alone never solves inequality, but without it, opportunities narrow. What do you think?